The Colts actually have a game to play this weekend beyond all the distractions from the past week. We're going to break it down and tell you why the Colts actually have a chance in this one. All that and more on today's episode of Locked On Colts. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Colts, your daily Indianapolis Colts podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you all for tuning in and making us your number one listen of the day. This is your daily podcast covering your Indianapolis Colts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. This is Jake Arthur, joined alongside the incomparable Zach Hicks. You know the two of us from HorseshoeHuddle.com, of course. Today, we're going to still keep it real with you guys, but we're going to pepper in a little more optimism here because, if nothing else, you guys don't want to be bummed out before, during, or after a Colts game. And, of course, there's been plenty of reason to dog the franchise lately, so we'll take a little bit of a respite from that. So, lots of storylines kind of going into this one that we've got circled. First and foremost, obviously, Sam Ehlinger, start number 2, first road start. He gets Bill Belichick right off the bat. No, I know you've said, and it's a great point. I was told this by Rick Venturi last week in the press box. Basically, Sam Ehlinger versus Bill Belichick. Ehlinger's a smart kid and everything, but Belichick tends to feast on the young guys.
Yeah, I mean, Bill Belichick, for everything that he is, you could say that he's nothing without Tom Brady or whatever. The teams aren't successful without Tom Brady, but we're talking about one of the most innovative defensive coaches in the history of the game. You could hate him all you want for Spygate and all the Super Bowls and the evil empire when we were all rooting for Peyton Manning to win Super Bowls back in the day. But at the end of the day, we all hate him. I get it. At the end of the day, though, Bill Belichick is like the founding father of modern defense in the NFL. He's a huge component on what we see in NFL defenses now. Him and Nick Saban are two of the most innovative defensive minds in the history of football. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason why the Patriots had so much success. It's like, yes, you have Tom Brady, one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, but you also had a defense on the other side. No matter what the talent was, they were always going to produce because they had Bill Belichick. So now you're getting this against a quarterback in his second start. And again, I'm very optimistic about Sam Ehlinger going forward. I'm very optimistic about what he did last week. But we are talking about a kid who, again, in his second start in the NFL, he wasn't this highly touted prospect. He wasn't any like this pro ready guy that everyone's saying or whatever. That he's still someone learning on the fly and kind of catching, his rhythm as he goes. It's tough to run into a buzzsaw like a Bill Belichick defense in a second start. So something I said on social media earlier today or earlier Thursday, wherever you guys are listening to this, is, for everyone who wanted to temper expectations after his first start. We're saying oh, he's not the franchise guy. He could still suck, yada, yada, yada. Don't kill him for, if you were telling people not to praise him after that first start, don't kill him for the second one if it doesn't go as well, because almost any young quarterback in this situation, it's going to be tough. Again, Bill Belichick knows how to take away what you want to do. He knows how to play against your strengths and make you make your offense beat them with your weaknesses. Make you play to your not to your strength. So Sam Ehlinger is going to be in for a tough one in this one, and by all means, I hope he has a phenomenal game. That'll definitely improve my outlook on him going forward, because as of right now, I'm pretty optimistic. I liked a lot of what I saw in his first start, and I like a lot of what I've seen so far. But if he shows out against the Bill Belichick defense, my optimism is skyrocketing. But I'm not fully expecting that. I'm expecting some struggles in this one for sure. But don't kill him if it's a bad game, because a lot of young quarterbacks would have a bad game in this situation.
Yeah, and I think the approach in this one, it should be a little unconventional, or at least what I think I would do. If you guys listen to the crossover episode with Mike Debate from Locked On Patriots and I Thursday morning, then you've already kind of heard this. But yes, Ehlinger is not like the athletic rushing quarterback that guys like Lamar Jackson and Justin Fields are. But those teams, the Ravens and Bears, had a lot of success just pounding the Patriots up front, led by those quarterbacks. Sam's not going to get like the 125 rushing yards, whatever. But when you're looking at picking up a 3rd and 4 with your legs, stuff like that, just make it a priority to use Sam as a mobile quarterback in this one. I mean, especially since you may not have Jonathan Taylor. He hasn't practiced yet this week. I kind of don't know why you would play him. Like, he looks like he needs rest right now.
Right.
So it could be Deion Jackson and Phillip Lindsay. I don't know if they're ready to try. Jordan Wilkins out there. Zach Moss might be ready.
Jordan Wilkins.
Yeah, which we're happy that Jordan Wilkins is back. We're both big fans of his.
Right.
But your running back group's going to be just a mishmash. So Sam can lead it. Just attack them. The Colts killed the Patriots front last year, over 200 yards rushing. Mind you, Jonathan Taylor was he's an alien, and he was at his peak at that point last year. But I think that's how you beat this Patriots team. You're not going to do it spreading them out because they're probably going to take away Michael Pittman Jr. So if you're going to beat them, that means you're probably going to have to take a bunch of shots with Campbell and Pierce and everything. And it just seems uncharacteristic with what they would want to do with Sam right away.
Yeah, one thing I will say, if you try to line up in power run and you want to run right into the teeth of this Patriots defense, you're going to be in a lot of pain. They have very good defensive linemen that play the run really well. They have some really good safeties that come down the box. Kyle Duggar is one of the best in football for a reason. They love to get after it. If you want to run right at them, right in that teeth of that defense, they're going to punch you in the mouth. This is a physical team you're going against. But if you come out with a lot of read option, QB sweeps, wildcats, like we saw a little bit of last week, we saw just very little bits of this last week, and we saw in a lot of short situations, two 3rd and shorts. We had the Sam Ehlinger run to the outside. We had the Jonathan Taylor on a read option up the middle for 27 yards. And then in the red zone, another read option power shovel play. That was the handoff to Nyheim Hines for the lone touchdown of the game for the Colts. You got to do like a lot of unique stuff like this. This Patriots defense, they're fast, they're aggressive. They want to punch you in the face, throw a lot of misdirection at them, make them overcommit to things, and you might be able to get on the outside. That's why you've seen, Justin Fields have success, Lamar Jackson have success. Now, those guys are much bigger threats on the ground than Sam Ehlinger is, but it's that added threat of the quarterback run or maybe a read option or, I have to contain the outside and, oh, no, I just lost my gap on the inside. Stuff like that. It just adds that stress to a defense that wants to punch you in the face. So I do think there is a formula to running on this team and being productive on offense, but you just can't run into the teeth of this defense, which, we have seen the Colts do a lot this year.
Yeah, and I've got to get your opinion on this kind of to that point. So aside from Taylor potentially being out, Dennis Kelly hasn't practiced yet this week either, which means perhaps Bernard Ryman gets back in there at left tackle. With a run game like that where you potentially are trying to, RPO stuff, some zone stuff, getting guys out moving, do you think that would be an easier approach for the Colts with yet another potential offensive line configuration? Like, would it be better to tailor it to get them out moving or more of a traditional blocking style?
No, I think, you don't have a traditional passer back there. Sam Ehlinger, for him, again, we're not talking about a guy who's a 4-3 guy or a 4-4 guy. He's like a 4-6, 4-7, maybe 4-8 runner. So he's not like he's a burner back there, but he's not a traditional passer. He's not a Matt Ryan who's going to stand in the pocket and you just have to do, standard dropbacks with him. That's not what we're looking at. We're looking at a quarterback who likes to be on the run. He thrives in chaos. He thrives moving up in the pocket and moving out of the pocket. So you want to move that pocket as much as possible. You want to just design rollouts. You want to do RPOs. You want to do quick screens and stuff like that. Because when you have a quarterback who thrives out of the pocket, you also have an offensive line that has to learn to thrive out of the pocket. It's not going to be traditional dropbacks a lot of the times. And you have to get your offensive line used to that. So especially when you have a young offensive tackle like Bernard Ryman, if you just have him drop back constantly into, his little vertical sets or maybe even, the aggressive jump sets against Matthew Judon, that's tough. Matthew Judon's going to beat him a lot.
Judon versus Ryman, yeah.
Right. But if you're moving the pocket a lot, if you're making Judon have to hesitate with RPOs, with read options, that helps your offensive lineman a lot. We've seen that in last week. Dennis Kelly did not have a great game, but because Sam Ehlinger was able to move in the pocket, because they're running those read options, because They were moving the pocket a lot. Dennis Kelly, his not great week didn't look as bad because you had that quarterback that was moving around back there. So I do think having a quarterback like Sam Ehlinger does help a player like Bernhard Raimann. And again, as much as if you can make that defensive end, that pass rusher who wants to get after your quarterback, if you make him hesitate for half a second, a quarter of a second, a tenth of a second, that helps Sam Ehlinger. That right there, and that helps Sam Ehlinger, and it helps Bernhard Raimann. So you want to get that hesitation. You want to be more diverse with your offense. And if they just kind of build on what they did last week, I do think, again, I'm not saying they're going to go out there and put up 30 on the Patriots, but I do think they can move the ball and not get in a situation like they did against Jacksonville maybe in week 2 where they're getting sacked every other play.
Yeah, and this, as you were saying that, I just kept thinking, this kind of has the makings of potentially being one of those Frank Reich masterclass games. You mentioned it. I feel it was either after Kansas City or the Jacksonville win, one of the two. But like, he has a couple of those every year where everything he does just seems to hit. And no Marcus Brady now. The entire offense is kind of up to him. If he kind of changes things a bit and it works against the Patriots, we could be singing his praises after this one. Now, that doesn't erase everything that's happened leading up to this, but we know he does have it in him to have these beautiful game plans. He's done it several times.
Right. One thing I'll say, because I know we have to move on, is I don't know if the personnel is going to support a Frank Reich masterclass this season, especially if Jonathan Taylor's out. So I want to agree with you, Jake. I really, really I want to go to where you're going with this. I don't think I can go that far, but I do think we can see a good game plan from Frank Reich and, Scotty Montgomery as well. A guy who worked with a lot of RPO stuff. He's a running backs coach and stuff like that. You can get a lot more of that in this offense. So I won't go as far as masterclass, Jake. I understand where you're going with that.
Part of that's working with what you've got, though. Like Arizona, for example, the Arizona game.
Right.
Yeah. So before we talk about the defense and predict what they might do against Mac Jones, we want to tell you guys about a different kind of prediction. Today's episode is brought to you by Prediction Strike, the world's first sports stock market. You can now invest in pro athletes just like stocks. It's a lower risk alternative to sports betting, and athlete prices move based on performance and supply and demand. If you invested in Jalen Hurts 1 year ago, you'd be up 48.2% now as he's an MVP frontrunner. Kyle Pitts, mind you, is down 44.12% after struggling to start the year. All athletes benefit too and are entitled to a percentage of their market cap, unlike other sports betting companies. You can invest in 4 sports right now, not just the NFL, but also UFC, NBA, and the MLB. Everyone knows you should be investing, but why not invest what you actually know as a football fanatic? It's not quite what people are going for when they say you gotta, diversify your portfolio, but for people like me, this is a little more up my alley. Download the Prediction Strike app and use code LOCKED for a free share when you sign up and make a first deposit of $20 or more. That's promo code LOCKED for a special one-time giveaway. Prediction Strike will choose one person who signs up with code LOCKED and make a deposit to win 100 free random shares. That could be worth up to $3,000 if you get lucky and receive Josh Allen shares, for example. Invest in what you know on Prediction Strike, the stock market for sports.
Before we get to this Colts defense, guys, I want to tell you about something that you've got to try. I'm talking about Built Bar's new reimagined flavors: cookie dough topper, coconut brownie bar, coconut brownie topper, white chocolate peppermint granola, and candy cane brownie puff. Built Puffs are like biting into the universe's most delicious cloud. You're probably wondering which new flavor is my favorite. Well, I haven't really tried them yet, but I am on my way to try them. I love all these Christmas flavors. They are gorgeous. I'm excited. Yes, guys, make sure you are getting your box of Built Puffs. They're all unbelievable, and they're all different, so you can order a mixed box and try all 5 flavors for yourself. That's what I'm going to try, guys, so definitely jump on that. Built, you got to try this. Get 15% off your order right now by using code LOCKED15 at Built.com. Locked on 15 at Built.com. All right, Jake, let's jump into this defense. Now, they do have a pretty tough matchup with this Patriots rushing attack. It's funny because, it's modern NFL. Everyone wants to talk about the passing game, how, Star Wars numbers, right? All the time. That's what we always hear and stuff like that. But this Patriots team, it's a lot like the Tennessee Titans, where they're old school. They want to punch you in the mouth. They want to run the ball down your throat. And they've been very effective with it without having a Derrick Henry. Ramondre Stevenson is outstanding. Damian Harris, I don't know if he's going to be playing this week, but just another really good running back that's going to punch you in the mouth. And in this Patriots offensive line, they are huge players. They are fast. They're athletic. And it's a really good rushing attack. And even for a defense like the Colts, where yes, we have Grover Stewart, yes, we have DeForest Buckner, yes, we have Bobby Okereke, they can wear you down over the course of a game, just like Derrick Henry did against the Colts a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, no doubt. And that rushing attack and just that physical wear you down type of style is one of two big reasons that I think DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart need to be huge and critical in this game. Because obviously stopping the run starts with those guys up the middle, and they're the Colts' best defensive linemen. But also the pass rush is going to scare me this week. Now it's opportunistic because the Patriots kind of struggle to pass protect just like the Colts do. But Yannick Ngakoue has been very hot and cold, and Tyquan Lewis, they just lost him for the year. Now fingers crossed they can get Kwity Paye back because he was. He missed the 3 games. He was limited on Wednesday, full on Thursday.
Right.
But if they want to hold him back a week, I wouldn't blame him.
Right.
He just returned to practice after missing a few weeks. So who knows if he's going to play. Regardless, he's coming back from an injury. That puts Ifedi Odenigbo, Ben Banogu, and Dayo Odengbo, who they seem to want to get more involved this week. Dayo.
Yeah.
Basically, you're really trying to rely on Yannick Ngakoue, which they haven't been able to do much, and then a bunch of guys, basically. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to get that push on the pocket from the interior from your bell cows. Grover Stewart, who's, again, played nuts all year, and DeForest Buckner has looked like DeForest Buckner since about week 3. So those guys really need to play up to their standard in this one.
Yeah, no, the big 3 for me in this one, and I know I'm going to be so frustrated on Sunday because we're going to see Bobby Okereke and Shaquille Leonard rotate snaps instead of. I mean, Bobby Okereke needs to be 100% snaps. I mean, he is too good to take off the field. But anyway, I go back to my actual. I digress. I go back to my actual point here. The big 3 is Grover Stewart, DeForest Buckner, and whoever's playing that inside linebacker, Shaquille Leonard or Bobby Okereke. So I guess big 4 technically. Is you have to get this Patriots team into 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, or even longer. Again, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10. Obviously, that's optimal. But anything in 3rd and 6 plus, you have to get them in those situations because their passing game has just been kind of sporadic. It's been very Tennessee Titans, where when they can get you into 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2 or 2nd and 4, 2nd and 3, they can hit you with those RPOs. They can hit you with those play actions, and they can really hurt you. A lot of leak plays, a lot of crossers and stuff like that. But when you have to make them just sit back there and drop back, this offensive line hasn't been able to protect. Their receivers have struggled to get open, and Mac Jones has not had the greatest season with this new offensive scheme. So it really comes down to what can this Colts defense do on 1st and 2nd down to get them into those favorable 3rd downs. Yes, the pass rush might be a concern with Kwity Paye coming back from injury, Tyquan Lewis out, Yannick Ngakoue being kind of iffy. But Gus Bradley has shown this year that he has blitzed a little bit more, and when he has blitzed, it's been very, very effective. So I don't really question this team's ability to get some pressure and get after Mac Jones. It's just you have to get him in the situations where, again, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, they can run or pass there. Mac Jones can find a quick dump off to a running back and get a 1st down. But if you're getting him to 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, you're making him hold that ball. You're making him have to think. You're making him have to wait for his receivers to get open. And I know it boils down to something that you hear your old ball coach say. You have to win 1st and 2nd down to get to 3rd down. But it really is the key in games like this where you're going against a team that wants to punch you in the mouth. They want to run the ball. If you can get off the field on 1st and 2nd down and get into those 3rd and longs, it helps you so much in the long game. And that's how, that's the difference between an offense you're going against being 20% for the game on 3rd down or 40 or 50% for the game on 3rd down.
I think you're right, because if I remember correctly from last year's matchup, the Colts did win pretty handily, I would say. But It was one of those games where I thought Mac Jones, it looked like he was going to be all right as a starter in the NFL. I feel like he really pestered them getting out of the pocket. I thought he had some good throws. And those third and shorts, I feel like he was able to pick some of those up with his legs. He's not the most fleet of foot guy, but he'll run for the sticks. He'll get them. So
right.
That's absolutely on the head. You got to get them in third and longer than short because they'll pick it up. Especially those power plays with Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, they can do that.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. Do any of these receivers really scare you? I know Parker is banged up. Jacoby Myers is a good player. But yeah, I think you're right. They are pretty Titans-ish. I haven't really thought of it that way. They don't have like a top dog, but they have guys who are capable, but no one that really strikes fear in you.
Yeah, they're very Titans. Their game revolves around their rushing attack and around Ramondre Stevenson of late. It could be Damon Harris as well, but it kind of is Ramondre Stevenson's backfield right now. In the passing game, he's a big pass catcher. In the run game, he's just going to wear you down. And he's a guy where if you hit him 2 yards in the backfield, it might turn into a 4-yard gain for the offense. So you have to get him down. You have to get after him fast, and you need your guys like Grover Stewart to get that penetration quickly. I fully am confident that they can. But again, this is a very, very Titans game, and we've seen the last 5 times the Colts have played the Titans, it has not gone very well. How do they respond in another huge physical matchup in a rivalry game? Just like that Titans one, a physical rivalry game. How do they respond? And I'm very, very curious about that.
Yeah, for real. Well, these days every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Then add your job in the purple #hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus the leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Zach, moment of truth. This one, as far as predictions go, kind of feels like the Commanders game last week. Like, could easily go either way. Either team could score 13 points or 28. Like, you just really don't know. Again, the last week's loss didn't give me a ton of confidence in the offense to give them 20 points yet. So for me, I'm giving this to the Patriots a 20-13 win. I think Bill Belichick's going to have some tricks up his sleeve, and the Colts tend to not do the things that we think they're going to do on offense, and that doesn't always work. So until I see the Colts offense really unfurl a bit, I'm gonna give them some conservative predictions.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back with what I just said to end that last segment. Is look, this is a physical game. This is going to be a game where both teams are going to try to throw haymakers. And my only problem
Michael Pittman, literally, maybe.
Yeah, last year in this matchup, he really did. Got thrown out of the game. So I just think every time we've seen the Colts get into games like this, whether it's the Titans, whether it's, other teams that just want to run the ball down your throat and they are begging you to do the same thing on the other side and see if you can match their intensity, we have seen the Colts come up short, especially recently. They just have not, especially, again, I keep going back to the Titans. When they've played the Titans these last couple of times, they have lost the battle at the line of scrimmage. Even if their defensive line is having a better day than normal, they still get worn down, and the Colts offensive line just cannot handle the intensity on the other side. I think this is a game that's very, very similar to Titans games. It's both teams that want to run the ball. You have the Patriots that are just going to come out so intense and so physical. I want to see the Colts come out and match that. I really, really do, but I just don't have faith in them doing that this time. And again, this season just feels so different from past Colts teams where, this might feel like a game in the past where they could steal it and they could really get back into the thick of the race in the AFC. But I don't have as much faith in this year's team. So I'm going to go 23-13 Patriots. I do think Sam Ehlinger has a good day, but not a great day. And that's going to be the biggest positive takeaway after this game. But, while we have still a few more minutes here, we're talking predictions and we're talking things like that, just some X factors. I think if the Colts are going to win this game, it comes down to 2 players. Sam Ehlinger, quarterback, makes a lot of sense, and Shaquille Leonard on the other end. if Shaquille Leonard even looks kind of like his old self and he's out there forcing turnovers, because again, the Colts have lost the turnover battle in like every game this year. I think every single game outside the Broncos game, actually the Broncos game might have just been a tie in that one in the turnover. I think it was 2-2 in that one. So, if Shaquille Leonard can force a couple turnovers and make some big plays in the run game, and then Sam Ehlinger could just look poised against this really good Patriots defense. They have a good shot to win. They have the ingredients to win. I said this every time I've said that this year, they've lost, but they do have the ingredients to win this game.
Yeah.
It just comes down to those two players. If Sam Ehlinger can improve his play from last week and keep that 1% better, that trend upwards. I know we've been hearing that for years, but if he can just keep that trend upwards, I feel good about the offense. And if Shaquille Leonard can add that one missing element to the Colts defense, that turnovers, I do think the Colts have a good chance. But again, ultimately my prediction is 23-13 Patriots. But I do think there's a way they can win this. Those two players and a couple others obviously step up. But it's just going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough physical game. And I don't know if the 2022 Colts can really match that physical intensity.
Yeah. And again, since we have some free time here, just thinking of we'll go from a fantasy perspective. It's been forever sinse we've done that. You
guys don't like the fantasy perspective. That video was tanked.
Yeah. No one cared about that. So a couple of guys who could have sneaky productive days from a fantasy perspective. Any of the tight ends, I guess. I'm going to say Jelani Woods just because he's the biggest big play threat. Mo Cox is not involved in the passing game whatsoever. Kylan Granson hasn't found pay dirt in his career yet. Jelani Woods is obviously the biggest play guy. New England has given up some big things to tight ends throughout the season. It's the middle of the field just can be attacked for them in the passing game. But Deion Jackson, he now might have to be Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines in this matchup.
Yes.
We saw him get 10 catches in his last start. And yeah, so I don't know what his rushing yardage is going to look like, but I think if you're in a PPR league, half PPR, whatever, I would start Deion Jackson for sure. Because even if he gets 20 rushing yards, he's probably going to catch 8 balls at least. He's going to be very involved. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays 60-70% of the snaps. Because everyone else is a practice squad player. And that's right. Assuming Jonathan Taylor doesn't play, but he could. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know how logical it is.
Yeah, the two things I'm really looking forward to, though, and this kind of this goes a little bit to fantasy football, is, we saw last week, again, wildcat formation. We saw little gadget plays where Hines came in the backfield. And we saw a lot of really interesting things with Nyheim Hines and with some gadgety type plays. Does Paris Campbell take that role? Do we see Paris Campbell motioned into the backfield a little bit more? Do we see him as the wildcat quarterback maybe at times? I'm super curious because if that happens, stock up, and my hype for Paris Campbell the rest of the season is going to be insurmountable because that's going to be cool to see. I really want to see him more with the ball in his hand in the open field. So that's one thing I'm really looking forward to. And again, if you guys have deep benches in fantasy football, maybe just stash him really low right now because there could be some fun things going ahead with that. But the other thing is I'm really curious to see how this Patriots secondary matches up with the Colts wide receivers, because in the past, what we've seen from Bill Belichick defense is you will bracket the number 1 target with the number 2 corner and a safety. And then the number 1 corner will take the other receiver on an island, so you kind of have, your best corner by himself on a lesser receiver. And then you have bracketing on that top receiver. Now, how do they attack that with Alec Pierce? Paris Campbell's been super productive lately. Michael Pittman Jr. What's their plan? I'm assuming they're going to bracket Michael Pittman Jr. But how do they approach Alec Pierce and Paris Campbell? Do they put a bigger corner on Alec Pierce because of the jump ball, ability in his game? I'm really curious to see how they attack that. And I wish I could give more fantasy insight on that, because if I knew how they would attack it, if I knew they're going to put a 5-6 corner on Alec Pierce, I'd be like, you know what? Throw out Alec Pierce this week. But I think it's going to be really interesting. This whole game to me just comes down to how Sam Ehlinger responds against this Patriots defense. And I think a lot of you guys listening can agree that this is a huge, huge game for our optimism regarding Sam Ehlinger. If he comes out and looks really good against the Patriots defense, man, the optimism in Indy is going to be crazy for this kid. But if he looks poor or looks average again, it might be a little bit lesser. But I'm excited for him. I think he has the tools to be a good quarterback, and this is a huge test for him.
Yeah, last year this was a Hyde Carson Wentz game.
Right.
Wentz threw the ball 12 times against the Patriots last year, but Jonathan Taylor, it was working with the run game. Like, don't get me wrong. So, man, I really don't know. I don't feel like Frank attacks the same opponent the same way twice in a row. Like, it just doesn't seem like he just doesn't seem to do that. So I don't know. I don't know if he's going to go pass heavy. That does not seem.
Oh, please!
Like
It'd be awesome. Just throw Sam Ehlinger in the fire and see what happens.
I'm just so curious to see what they do. Like,
yep.
I just don't know, because Belichick knows they're going to try to run the ball, and if they don't have Jonathan, they're like, when they don't have him or he's not healthy, they just don't run the ball very much. So
right,
very curious.
Oh,
but that's why they play the games, right?
Throw 40 times with Sam Ehlinger. Just throw him in the fire. Let's just see what happens.
Let Sam cook.
Let him cook.
It was funny because last week in the press box, when in the first half when the play calling was really conservative, someone joked, they were like, just let Sam cook.
And then he was good in the second half. He was 10 of 12 for 150 yards and a touchdown. Or no, he didn't have a touchdown, but 150 yards. Yeah,
he'll go downfield. I'm excited to see that. I want to see, because I think they will try and take away Pittman, like you mentioned. So I want to see Alec Pierce get some shots. But yep. So my Chipotle is here. I've got to get out of here on that note. The game is coming up on Sunday at 1:00 Eastern out in Foxboro. Does Sam get his first W? Does the Colts defense shout out Mac Jones again? Find out this weekend and hang out with us after the game.
Jake's got to go eat Chipotle. Chipotle is his life.
Chipotle is my life.
Make sure you guys are following us on social media at Jake Arthur NFL, at Zach Hicks 2, and at Locked On Colts. Also subscribe to our show on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Thanks again for making Locked On Colts your first listen every day. For your second listen, check out Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights that only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. We'll see you guys on Sunday.